parts of our economy and our broadcasting environment.
Claudette Hawiti.
At this time, I would like to acknowledge and thank Sir Graham Latimer, who was the driver behind the Māori Language Act, which established the Māori Television Service Act, which we are now talking about the amendments. This bill is about the protection and promotion of te reo me ona tikanga. This is not a bill about spectrum. This is not a bill about being a public broadcaster. This is about the promotion and the protection of te reo via a free-to-air digital terrestrial television network. I thank my colleagues across the House for recommending and commending this bill to the House.
Chris Farfoy.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker, for the opportunity to speak in the third and final reading of the Māori Television Service Te Ara Tuku Whakata Irirangi Māori Amendment Bill. Someone in this debate earlier on mentioned the word taonga, and the translation of that word to English is treasure. And I do want to thank, and the previous speaker thanks Sir Graham Latimer, but I also do want to pay tribute to our former colleague, Parekura Horomia, because this is one of the treasures that Pare left us. And I think from what I've seen from the Minister and the Chair at the committee stage and in his third and second reading speeches, that the Minister of Māori Affairs absolutely understands that the MTS, or Whakata Māori, is a treasure. And the notion of treasure and the translation of the word to treasure, but the notion of treasure, I think, in Māori is more than just something of worth or value, because it is also something that has to be respected. And I think while this bill does deal with spectrum and the increase in the use of te reo and getting more coverage to Māori issues and the culture, to Māori and non-Māori, there are some issues within this bill that we had concerns with, and I would like to take the opportunity to thank the Minister, because I thought he went some way to addressing a lot of the concerns that we have. We still do have some concerns as to how that may play out, certainly when that pertains to spectrum. But there have been some other issues at Māori TV recently that have concerned us around the appointment of the process, in particular around the Chief Executive role. But I did want to take some time to talk about the concept of taonga, because it is the Māori Television Service and the hard graft of many people that has the very important job of protecting the language. It's not the only avenue that this government funds, and previous governments have funded, to protect the Indigenous language of Māori. You don't have that language anywhere else in the world. So to make sure that we have an avenue which we can see and hear Māori voices and Māori people celebrating, educating and entertaining, I must add, is very, very important. So the spirit of the place is different to any other public broadcaster that we have in New Zealand. TVNZ, a state-owned broadcaster, appeals to the masses. And it's not its remit to basically look after te reo or the Māori culture. That is the job of Māori television. And it's a very special job, and therefore I think that we've seen in the appointment process some messy scenes about the appointment of a chief executive. So what I would like to see is maybe some independence there in terms of a governance model to make sure that we don't have any ugly scenes, whether it be from that side of the House or from this side of the House, to make sure that there is some independence at a governance level so we don't see this kind of thing happen again. No, I don't believe they do. That's a response to Materia Tude. But we can't let a taonga have a dirty mark like this put on top of it. It's absolutely wrong. So I think that's the challenge that I might put out to the Minister, to make sure that this doesn't happen again, that we have some sort of separation from this place to make sure that this kind of thing can't happen again. Now, I'm not calling into question the people behind decisions that get made. But in this case, there seems to have been either a close personal relationship with an individual who went for a job and also an employment record, and then some criticism of questions that are asked on this side of the House, because we do respect that MTS is a very special broadcaster, that it is a treasure, and that we need to respect it as a taonga and make sure that these kinds of things and these issues don't happen again. So, we respect that, and we need to make sure that that is respected as well. Mr. Speaker, also in relation to the use of spectrum, because a large part of this bill is about spectrum, contrary to other speeches that have been made in this House. Spectrum is very important for the future of digital technology, because the way that it can be used and utilised in the future, what might have been junk today can be very, very important when it turns into digital technology in the future. In effect, you can take an analogue signal and turn it into 8 digital signals. And that ownership of that spectrum has been moved from the Maori television service to another entity, Te Putahi Pauho, and that is going to be managed by them. And I do thank the Minister and the Chair, because he has said that the management of that will be taken with a view to make sure that in the future, if that is looked to be, if any of that spectrum is going to be utilised by anyone other than MTS, we've been told by the Minister, you can go watch Coronation Street if you want, you're not making any contribution here. We've been told by the Minister that this will be very important to be utilised, especially for the use of Māori culture. So I would like to hope that that follows through, to make sure that it is utilised for the purpose that it was originally given to the Māori television service. Around a larger overview of spectrum, because the MTS is not the only people who have had a spectrum allocated to it. The government's management of the spectrum resource has been at best haphazard, but they've got an opportunity to make good with the packet of spectrum that has just been given back by Sky. Now, Claire Curran has spoken about the timing of this, but regardless of that, the government now has 4 packets of spectrum that it will have available to it, which it can either do nothing with, or it can, as we've seen in the past, hock off. But what we would like on this side of the House is for the government to ring-fence one of those packets of digital spectrum, which can broadcast 8 television stations, for any future use around public broadcasting or potentially regional broadcasting. Because it's very, very expensive at the moment for regional broadcasters to get themselves a piece of the spectrum action, but it's also going to be very expensive for any future government who wants to start up a public service broadcaster if there's no spectrum available to it. We've seen what the government has done in its commitment to public broadcasting over its 5-year tenure, was to close down TVNZ7 and TVNZ6. So given their track record over the last 5 years, I don't hold out much hope for the government taking a forward-looking approach to any broadcasting. In fact, it's a challenge to them that maybe if they did reserve some of the soon-to-be available spectrum that has come across from Sky, that they might have at least a passing interest in public broadcasting. So that's my challenge to the government, to make sure that if it has any vision for the spectrum, we'll have, Mr. Chair, oh sorry, it's 2 minutes to go. If they have any vision, if they have any long-term vision, I just wanted to keep it going. Tim McIntyre's very happy. That it does square away and ring-fence some spectrum. But unfortunately, Mr. Chair, I don't hold out much hope for that, the government, of having a long-term vision around that spectrum or public broadcasting. But just to return to the bill, to wind up, Mr. Speaker, this is an important bill for the future of the Maori television service. It's doing a very good job of meeting its objectives and making sure that it promotes, educates and entertains to make sure that the Māori culture is promoted. It's unfortunate that there are some messy scenes at the governance level, and I would hope when the review that comes back to the Minister of Māori Affairs and the Minister of Finance that we look at another way to independently deal with these situations so we don't have messes that don't deserve to be anywhere near the Māori television service.
I call the Honourable Member Materia Ture. Tēnā koe, Ms.
Tēnā koe, Mr Speaker. The Green Party supports this legislation. We're very pleased that it's been brought to the House and is about to